Hello, I'm Rick Cutter with Cloud for Utilities, and today we are in conversation with Rick Nott, Vice President of North American Utility Sales at Infor. Hi, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing well today, Rick. Thanks for having me on.
That's our pleasure. Thank you for being with us today. Excited to learn more about your company. Rick, tell us a little bit about how you got your start in utilities in the technology industry.
It's actually kind of a funny story, Rick. It kind of happened by accident. So coming out of school, I had an internship program, and we were fortunate enough to find a sponsoring company. That company was automated scheduling and dispatching software vendor out of Vancouver, British Columbia. Completed the 3-month internship, and they asked me to stay on board in business development, and ended up having about a 7-year career with that organization.
Tell me what excites you about Infor.
So, I recently joined Infor in the past couple of months, and there was kind of 3 things that really got me excited about joining the organization. The first is that we've gone through and we've done the conversion to a true multi-tenancy cloud SaaS application. So throughout my career, we've always kind of serviced the top end of the utility market. So if you think of your largest IOUs, and had to scale the product so it could do that. And where we had an issue was, okay, now we're servicing that end of the market. How do we start servicing kind of the middle of the market and maybe into the co-op? And to truly do that, you need a product that can scale down. And Infor has actually made that investment for true multi-tenancy, fast time to realization of benefits as we can get implementations done quickly, rapid innovation as we're doing releases every couple of months. So, that was one piece of it. The other was the ability to come in and take an organization that's 17,000 employees, 350 utility clients, but not well known in the utility space. When I would interact with people in the industry and tell them I was making this change, they really didn't know Infor. And the ability to kind of educate them on what the capabilities in Infor are is really exciting to me. And thirdly is the involvement of Koch Industries. So we are a wholly owned subsidiary of Koch Industries, and just the market-based, the MBM philosophy that Koch operates under, the 8 guiding principles. It's a really attractive organization to be a part of, an innovative organization to be a part of, and just a lot of great opportunities.
Well, I know you've got a great footprint of applications for the utilities and other industries as well. Glad to hear more about that. I also understand you've got a new release of your flagship EAM solution coming out. Can you tell us more about that?
I can. So we're just releasing that. And the really exciting part for us is this is the first release where we're going to have compatible units. So when you think about how we service the utility market, compatible units, it's a key functionality. We were actually able to, from the time we scoped that and got the business case approved, we're able to deploy that within just over a calendar year. So one, necessary requirement as far as functionality, and then the second was just the speed in which we were able to show the market we could respond to that requirement.
That's important functionality. I know your customer will be happy you've added that to the platform.
Yeah, and then the other things that we were able to add with this release, GIS integration being one, and then some scheduling and routing as far as mobility is a key piece of functionality for us here within Infor, and to be able to add that scheduling and routing functionality for those mobile workers, we saw as a critical gap that we needed to fill.
Great. Rick, how do Infor products change things for your customers?
So that's a great question, Rick. There's a number of different vendors who supply EAM software in the utility industry, workforce management software, supply chain, ERP. What I've seen throughout my career is utilities typically purchase on, say, a 5-year cycle. So they'll do an evaluation, go through the RFP process, make the investment. Perhaps 5 years later, look at, was that the right solution? Do we want to look at the market, reevaluate what the requirements are, and maybe go through that procurement process again? The way that software interacts with utilities is essentially an 18-month development cycle once they are a customer. So we'll have a significant release being sent out probably on an 18-month schedule. The bulk of that release is going to be, frankly, technical currency. So you have a database support issue, you have a hardware support issue, and then a smaller portion is driven by requirements that come from the industry. What Infor is able to do that really changes that dynamic is we're doing software releases into our multi-tenancy cloud environment on a 4 to 6 week cycle, as opposed to 18 months. And really none of that is technical currency, because that's really, we separate that burden from our customers. So the example that I had given earlier of being able to deploy compatible units within about a 12-month cycle is really a showcase of how that is benefiting all of our customers, whether that piece of functionality is what they require or requirements that they haven't even thought of that are going to be popping up down the road 5, 6, 10 years from today. So it's really a platform to build that functionality out on that requires the decision today, and then we really keep them technically current going forward.
Great. What are some key developments you see happening in the next 10 years for utilities?
You know, there's two that are really striking to me based upon my background, and they kind of interrelate. First, so the position I had prior to joining here was with a significant AMI vendor, and as an example of the vast amounts of data that utilities are starting to collect and have access to, I think are really going to change the way that they operate. And I'll use AMI as the example, where you used to have a monthly meter read, and maybe you didn't even get a true meter read every month. You did estimates. That then changed as you started putting out new metering technology. And where we are today is generally a 15-minute interval meter read from your house, from commercial operations. What that will then transfer to is probably about a second interval read, or even sub-second interval read, from millions of endpoints when you think of a significantly sized IOU. And the amount of data that now is coming into a utility. And one, there's a huge benefit to that, but there's also the question of what are you going to do with all of that data? And AMI is one piece of that, but you have line sensors, you have sensors on transformer, like you have substation information coming in. So I think utilities are going to have to make a decision of what is the business value of all of that data coming in? What is the business process that you're going to put in place to make sure that you're actually utilizing all of it, that everybody's looking at the same pieces of data because there's so much of it? And then the other part that I think in 10 years you're really starting to see, and COVID really drove and accelerated this, is the mobile workforce within utilities. When COVID first struck, and I would talk to colleagues that I had within utilities, they were always at their dining room tables because they'd never in their careers, which in some cases was 30-year careers, had to work from home or work outside of their general offices or their location. And what you're seeing is utilities more, in increasing fashion, are having employees having to access their systems remotely. So the value of mobility and ease of use and adoption by those mobile workers is really going to be critical for them as we move forward.
Rick, if there's one thing you'd like our audience to take away from today's conversation, what would that be?
I'd say first and foremost that Infor is committed to the utility industry. One of the things I don't want to say surprised, but pleasantly surprised by was the breadth of customers that Infor has. As I mentioned before, it's over 350 utilities do business with Infor today. This is a market that we are absolutely committed to. We're investing in, we're building out teams, we're building out functionality. And secondarily, I would say, as we look at the Koch industry's 8 guiding principles, we're really looking to partner with these organizations. I mean, we're extraordinarily fortunate structure that we have, that we're not focused on a quarter or a certain date. We're looking to build long-term, strategic, mutually beneficial relationships with our customers.
So we've been in conversation with Rick Nott of Infor. Rick, thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciated the opportunity, Rick.
I can't wait to come by your digital booth and see your latest EAM version. I'm excited to see it.
We're excited to have you see it.